So if you're considering moving to the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, but just are still on the fence, just unsure if this is the spot for you, this video is all for you. It's going to be going through 7 tips from a 40-plus year Colorado native that I think are big reasons to consider and why Denver's an awesome place to be. So excited to share all that with you guys on a brand new episode of Living in Denver. Let's go. All right, so as I said, today's going to be all about 7 tips from a Colorado native on reasons why I think Denver is still an incredible place to consider moving to here in 2025. Before, though, I want to just start off with just a background on, myself. I'm a 40-year-plus Colorado native, as I said. I'm a licensed realtor here in Denver. All that info down below. Would love just the opportunity to connect. I've got some great resources that are completely free that you can get by clicking the link down below or just shooting me a text or an email or giving me a call. Would love to connect with you guys and, again, just provide as much value as I can, regardless of when you're trying to come out to Colorado. So this first tip, though, today on all about why Denver's so great is going to be just the evolution on how Denver has gotten from where it was to where it is today and where it's continuing to go to in the future. And this Denver is just an area that I think is on the top of the list in the entire nation for just areas that are really improving by the year when it comes to just the quality of restaurants, parks, different music venues and different entertainment things that are coming to town. Just everything from A to Z, Denver is improving and getting better on a consistent annual basis. So I've, as I said, I've lived here my entire life. And back when I was, in high school and, that about 20, 25 years ago, it was a lot different. There wasn't nearly as much to do. It was very limited on options for where you would potentially buy a home. It was just a lot smaller city. And today, there's just so much more that exists than did 20 years ago. And I think that's only going to continue to get better and better. And that's just my first point, is just this tip of why I think it's such a great place. Is it's an area that you can definitely tell is continuing to get a lot of financial investment into the city. And it's going to always be an area that a lot of people want to move to and live here, which is a very stable, smart investment, in my opinion, when it comes to finding a place to live and hopefully buy a home. Because of all that popularity and just continuing to grow and grow and grow, you're also seeing a lot of very, industry-leading types of building when it comes to energy efficiency, as well as building specific bike lanes and just being very mobility friendly. There's just so many different directions I could go when I'm talking here on this first point, just about how it's progressing and constantly evolving and improving. But there are just so many things that are, in my opinion, just fantastic improvements from where it was 20 years ago. And again, it's going to continue to get better and better. So my second reason why I think Denver is a phenomenal place is going to be about the outdoor lifestyle, but specifically how you have so many opportunities in Denver 365 days a year. There's a lot of other YouTube videos obviously out there, a lot that do pros and cons. I've done a few myself. But what I want to talk this one specifically about, this tip, is how there's so many opportunities in Denver. Other videos, other pros and cons, they talk about the ability to get up to the mountains and just how many different recreational opportunities exist within a couple-hour drive of Denver. But I want to really also make it clear there's so much to do in Denver to support a healthy, active lifestyle. I won't go in depth on a bunch, but just as a couple quick examples, the first one is there's a brand new, it's called the Denver Orbital Trail. I've actually done a couple other videos sharing more info on this, but it just got finished last year in 2024. And what makes it so cool is it's this continuous loop where you have the ability to do almost 200 miles of trails to explore the entire city of Denver. And this is all available on a map, very easy to navigate. And it literally is 28 sections of trail that literally do a big 360 all around the entire metro Denver area. If you are considering moving out here, what a cool thing to maybe, set as a goal next year or this year and just explore all of Denver by just completing this entire orbital trail system. So that's just an example of how they really embrace this outdoor active lifestyle here in Denver. If you have been here before and you've walked around, you're definitely going to be aware of how many dogs are out here, how many great parks. There's just so much to do in Denver, and you don't have to go up to the mountains to enjoy this outdoor active lifestyle. One other example that I'll share before moving on to my next reason why Denver's so great, another local kind of a more urban type outdoor activity is going to be at where we call the Confluence Park. So right by REI, which is one of my favorite outdoor apparel and equipment stores. It actually is the local REI that we have in downtown Denver. It actually used to be an old train museum. It's really unique architecture, big brick warehouse that has now been converted for about 20 years now into REI. But outside of REI, there's Confluence Park, and you'll find people kayaking pretty much every day of the year down here. There's some really cool little rapids that have been built up through, because they've man-made some additional features within, this little section of water on the Platte River. So you can actually, go kayaking in Denver year-round. You can go paddleboarding on a lot of these lakes year-round. There's just so many different things you can do between biking, walking, hiking, jogging, and all of the intramural activities that exist on a more social, fun basis, especially at Washington Park. Wash Park is, one of the most famous, best well-known, but also just incredible parks we have here in Denver. And you go out there on a weeknight in the summer. I forgot what night of the week. They have different things pretty much every night of the week, but there's one night where they have the intramural volleyball leagues. And no joke, you'll see, 50, maybe 100 games going on at a time. That's how many people come out and are just enjoying the park with great views, really nice temperature out, and just an opportunity to meet other people that maybe are your neighbors or maybe people that live at least close enough to you that you could, start to hang out with. So just a few examples, guys, of some of the great outdoor recreational opportunities here in Denver. And that's why I put this as one of my reasons to definitely consider Denver in 2025. So my third reason is more for the people that are very passionate about being eco-friendly. Denver is becoming more and more progressive each and every year. And a big part of that has definitely been on the eco-friendly, just the sustainability and just being very conscious of the environment, which I think is great. I think this is something that is, there's a lot of different ways to do this. And Denver, I think, really kind of has a very expansive plan where they hit on a little bit of all of these different ways to improve and just be very conscious of their impact on the environment. All of our public transportation systems that we have now, in addition to the buses, the RTD system that we've had for years and years and years, we obviously also now have a light rail system, and this is becoming more and more used and also just very expansive with where it can now access and reach for its riders. It pretty much can be a used form of transportation to get almost anywhere, and if you can't get to where exactly you're trying to get to, most likely it's close enough where then you can hop on an RTD bus, or it might be close enough where then you can just hop on your bike if you bring your bike on the light rail with you. Anyways, there's just a lot of options out there when it comes to riding public transportation and saving the environment a bit that way. But also, you're finding a lot of improvements in Denver with other ways to, help again with this eco-friendly, progressive plan that they have in Denver. One of the things that actually just happened. So in November of 2024, the city of Denver changed up some of their zoning requirements when it came to ADU units. So an accessory dwelling unit for a long time had not really been a very feasible option for homeowners. And what this means is you're adding a second dwelling onto your property, and you can use this as like a mother-in-law suite for maybe guests to stay in, or for a lot of people, they're actually using this as a form of revenue where they're, renting this out on a short-term or a mid-term basis, having an additional source of income coming in to help pay for their mortgage or just as a little side hustle. So this did not used to be something that was really allowed or available very often, unless you had very specific zoning that your property fell into. Nowadays, though, after this change in November of 2024, other than a couple pretty minor little things that you have to abide by, this is something that can now be done on almost all homes, again, as long as you're able to still fit within their criteria. So that's just another thing that they're doing to try and help with, having more people being able to live in Denver without creating too much more of a impact on just building. So this is just another great way where Denver is now allowing these ADUs, getting the ability to have more people with homes and just, a roof over their head in the existing, footprint of Denver. So something that I think is really cool, and also a great value add or an opportunity to really improve the value of your property if you have the opportunity to maybe put one of these on your land. All right, so my fourth reason why Denver is awesome is just the incredible food scene. I think a lot of big cities, are known for having, good food scenes and are, always probably, getting a little bit better. But Denver is one that I think recently has really stepped up on their game. And we're actually starting to get more and more Michelin star restaurants. We're really finding out about how popular some of these food halls and kind of unique styles of dining exist in other big cities, and Denver's really embracing that, and a lot of these are now coming to Denver as well. There's just so many options, so many cool spots to check out, and just an example of a couple that I'll share with you. So the first example of this is actually in Sloan Lake, which is an area that I used to live in. I love Sloan Lake still. I think this is one of the best parts of Denver. And what they started to do recently, about maybe 6-7 years ago, is they started building out more food halls, or what this means is just basically like a covered year-round area that can have almost like food trucks inside. They're not trucks, they're just little private kitchens, and there might be 15 or 20 or maybe even more than that at this point within this structure. You go in there for free, and then it's basically like a big food hall where you just go up to any of the different little stands and decide what you want to have. And I think this is super cool for, maybe big groups where you're worried about having to split the bill, or maybe just a lot of different styles of what people want to eat that night. Go into one of these places, everybody can kind of do their own thing, pick what they want to eat, and then everybody just brings it back to the same table and all gets to enjoy and, maybe share a little bit of what you got with somebody else. It's just a very unique, fun, I think, way to dine. And this is another example, though, of just how Denver is progressively getting better and better in its food scene. So that's one example that I think is worth noting when it comes to the food scene here in Denver. And then another one that I'll share with you, and this is kind of funny, but we have a really historic, and I say historic, a very popular in the media, pop culture restaurant that just reopened in 2024 called Casa Bonita. If you guys have ever watched South Park before, maybe you're familiar with this. I actually just did another feature on Casa Bonita in my weekly email newsletter. If you guys aren't a part of that, hit me up down below, and I would love to add you guys to the list, because every week I share fun just tips about Denver. And I did one on Casa Bonita. Casa Bonita was, a staple in Denver for years and years. What makes it so cool is there's, cliff divers inside the restaurant. There's this big monkey that runs around. There's caves that you can explore. Really fun place for kids. It's a very unique spot to have a meal. But it had really bad food back in the day, and it was struggling. So the founders, or I should say the creators of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who are both, I believe, billionaires at this point from how successful South Park has been over the last, I think, 20 years, they actually purchased it, and they invested a ton of money. I think it was over $30 million in renovating this place. It was closed for, I think, over a year, and it just reopened again last year and is super popular. There was actually over 250,000 people on the wait list just to get in and have a meal there once it reopened. So super popular, really, really busy, obviously, with that many people wanting to go here. But just kind of a fun, different type of, dining experience that is, a staple when it comes to Denver, Colorado. All right, so my fifth reason for why Denver is a great spot in 2025, this one is going to be about the art scene. So we talked lastly about food. When I say arts for this point, I'm talking not only about just, the artistic, like visual, like, arts, art museums, art galleries, that kind of stuff. We definitely have a really, really robust, thriving art scene, but we also have an incredible music scene. So a couple quick things on this point. When it comes to the actual arts, we've got the Denver Center for Performing Arts. I actually went and saw Hamilton there a couple weeks ago with my girlfriend, and it was awesome. First time I had seen that. Definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. But also there is a section of road called Santa Fe that is very close to this Denver Center of Performing Arts, and they have an arts district, Santa Fe Arts District, and just you can walk on either side of the street and just pop your head in to all these cool, eclectic art studios. So there's a very thriving scene when it comes to arts. There's also one of my favorites, which is closer to where I grew up in Wheat Ridge, and this is actually in Arvada, which is next to Wheat Ridge, and it's called the Arvada Arts Center. Just very different style of being able to admire and appreciate art at the Arvada Art Center. They actually have this really cool open space in front of the art center. The art center has plays, it's a theatrical center as well, but there's all of these different local artists that have built like more like structural, outdoor pieces. And you can just walk through this big field in front of the art center and just check out all this different stuff, and it rotates consistently. So you go there 1 month, see a couple cool things, come back a few months later, it might look completely different. And on that same note, we also have Meow Wolf, which is, I don't even know how to explain Meow Wolf, but basically it's this immersive, arts experience with multiple different types of sensory, meaning that you're seeing stuff, you're hearing stuff. It's literally something that's hard to explain until you've been there. But it was very, very popular in both Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then also they opened up another one in Las Vegas. And then they opened up Meow Wolf Denver a few years back, and it's just another very artistic, cool place for all ages to check out. They're even now doing some concerts there in the evening. It is just a place that you definitely got to put on your bucket list, the Meow Wolf in Denver, Colorado. And then before moving on, also talking about music, something that I am very passionate about is Red Rocks Amphitheater. So if you've been hiding under a rock your whole life, maybe you haven't heard of Red Rocks before, but hopefully you have. Red Rocks is just the best music venue in the nation, if not the world. And I know that is quite the claim to make, but until you've been to a concert at Red Rocks, you probably aren't really aware of how special it truly is. And you have Red Rocks in your backyard if you live here in Denver. Now I live down in southwestern Denver in Littleton, and it's literally a 10-minute drive for me. And not only is it amazing to go to for music, for concerts, but you can also just go up there and enjoy the views with all these cool red rock formations. You can go up there and just hike and just enjoy escaping a little bit further from the city, where you get a little bit of elevation gain, really nice views of Denver, and also just a little less crowded, less people. So you're, without a doubt, you're going to see a lot of deer up there. Depending on if it's the summertime and there are concerts going on, there's concerts 7 days a week for the entire summer season. If you go up there that time of year, you might see some diehard, people for whatever concerts that night already getting in line and getting ready to, pre-party out in the parking lots and get ready for the show. But there's just an incredible amount of stuff you can do at Red Rocks year round. And again, it's right out your back door. So arts, when it comes to, visual arts, but also music, there's just a ton when it comes to that creative style of a city that Denver is, I think, doing a fantastic job with. All right, so my sixth reason why Denver is awesome is just how we have not only all this great stuff in Denver, but it's also a jumping off point to a lot of incredible adventures, just cool stuff to do within like an hour drive. So yes, you can drive up to the mountains a little bit further, maybe 2 hours and a half, I would say, is really the minimum to getting to some of the more well-known ski areas. But within that 90-minute commute to get to those ski areas, shorter commutes than that to all sorts of other great stuff that you can do. And this can be done, in an afternoon after work, or maybe you just have a half day to go do a quick little adventure with some friends. There's a lot to do when you live in Denver that is very close. So a couple examples of this. First off, Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs so I've actually seen a lot of recent articles and just stories online about how Colorado Springs has been consistently in the top 10 in the nation for places to live. And there's no surprise here. It's beautiful. You got great views of the mountains, as well as just easy accessibility to go north from Colorado Springs up to Denver, or you can even go a little bit further south. You can check out places like the Great Sand Dunes. But the place I want to share with you in Colorado Springs is going to be the Broadmoor. So the Broadmoor is my girlfriend's favorite place on earth. We go there at least once a year, if not more than that. It is just an incredible hotel, very historic. There's a section in the Broadmoor that you can walk down this hallway, and it is just lined with pictures of pretty much every famous person you can think of that has stayed there. And I'm not just talking about the Hollywood elite. I'm referring to presidents, very successful business people, just every walk of life. You could see some of these people on the wall. And it's just, a 5-star hotel, one of the only with that highest level of credential in the state. I believe it's just the Broadmoor, and the only other one is actually up in Aspen, where I used to live, the Little Nell Hotel. So just a very high caliber hotel and some great golf. There's 2 courses right on the Broadmoor, and it's located here in Colorado Springs. So definitely check that out. Another, though, similar, just easy to access activity and adventure you can do just in an afternoon if you do live here in Denver is going to be going out just a little bit southwest to Roxborough, and that's just going to be southwest Littleton. And this is an area close to Red Rocks Amphitheater that has that real similar style of red rock formations, and it is beautiful. And it's an area that not that many people really know about, even that have lived here for their entire lives. So Roxborough is just another cool spot that you could drive to within 30 minutes, depending on where you're at in Denver. Have some really nice, peaceful hiking trails, maybe mountain biking, or if you're a golfer, my favorite golf course in all of Denver, really all of the state, is located here, known as Arrowhead. So definitely check that out too if you're a golfer. And then one last spot near Denver that is another great activity, great place to check out would be Estes Park, which is the eastern entrance to Rocky Mountain National Park. And Estes Park's very accessible if you live in Boulder or maybe live a little bit further north in Fort Collins. But even from Denver, it's only about an hour and a half. And I think one of the coolest things about Estes Park is this is where the Stanley Hotel is located. If you guys are horror movie fans like I am, Stephen King's movie The Shining is actually based on this hotel. The Stanley Hotel. So you can go and just, you can have lunch there, you can stay there. And I even have friends that go up there in October around Halloween where there's these really unique, fun, overnight trips where you can go stay at the Stanley, and they have horror movie festivals where you can check out, indie movies and just specific horror movies while you're staying at the Stanley Hotel. How cool is that? So again, guys, long-winded way of just explaining on this reason why I think Denver's so great, how you have a lot of opportunities to just explore and go to cool places within 30 minutes to an hour drive of Denver. So there's a lot to do in Denver despite going up to the mountains and enjoying, hopefully while you're moving here, the Rocky Mountains, which are incredible. And the whole reason why me personally, I still live here is to enjoy the mountains, get up there, ski, mountain bike, go water skiing, wakeboarding, whatever it is, just enjoying the mountains. All right, you made it. My final point, my final reason why I think Denver is incredible and definitely a spot to check out in 2025. This one is for my younger audience. This one is going to be just about how Denver is a very up and coming and just embracing the young professional scene and the entrepreneurial scene. And I'm speaking on this one personally because as an entrepreneur myself, I have kind of witnessed how Denver is such a great place to network with other like-minded people. And there really are a lot of opportunities when it comes to entrepreneurship and also just young professional, small business owner, networking and just embracing that type of business here in Denver. I was a part of a really cool organization called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. They had a very healthy group of entrepreneurs here in Denver. By healthy, I just mean there was a lot of people that were a part of this, which just means there's a lot of, young professionals and just businesses that were successful that were here in Denver. So a great networking opportunity that I had through EO personally. If you guys are entrepreneurs, definitely maybe look into EO. They have chapters all over the world. But also just there's a lot of creative workspaces here in Denver. And this is something that kind of has seen a little bit of this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with WeWork. They had some legal troubles and, I wasn't sure what was going to happen with that type of shared workspace and whether or not that really was going to take off and be as popular as they were making it out to be. And I think that can vary state to state. So I think with Denver, there are places like that that are very easily accessible and available pretty much no matter what part of Denver you're living in. And I think this is just a great spot to network and meet other like-minded people, like I was saying earlier, through these shared workspaces, which Denver has a lot of. So if that's something that you guys are really big on back where you're living currently, don't worry, Denver has a lot of that to offer here as well. And also, I'll just add to that, Denver is a city that isn't all just about drinking and nightlife and staying out till 2 a.m. Obviously we have a ton of options for that if that's what you're into. And, I think there's some great spots downtown Denver, also like with some of these live music scenes like Red Rocks and also on Broadway. But if you're a young professional and maybe you're just not into that anymore, maybe you're really more focused on your career and getting that off the ground, there's so many other ways to be social in Denver without relying on the heavy drinking bar nightlife scene. And I think that might be a breath of fresh air for you if you're watching this from a city that maybe doesn't embrace that quite as much. I think part of that can also be just because we have so much outdoor space here, so many great parks, so many great intramural activities. There are just so many other ways to network and build up your sphere of influence, the people that you're interacting with. There's so many other ways to do that in Denver outside of just going out to the bars and trying to meet people that way. So I think Denver is very aware of this. And they're also continuing to improve upon this year after year. And I think this is just something that I wanted to save for the last point, because it's something that has really affected me a lot over the last few years as far as finding other ways to build up relationships with people and network and build up your business. So great options in Denver for that. All right, you guys made it. All 7 reasons. Definitely not limited to that. There's plenty more out there, plenty more that I can share with you. But those are 7 that I thought were very valuable. And things that you maybe haven't been seeing on other YouTube videos, or maybe just things that aren't quite as high up on your radar. So hopefully at least got a couple of these reasons today that you didn't know about, and maybe helped motivate you to consider moving out here to Denver, Colorado. If that is the case, again, would love to connect with you guys. All that info down below. Feel free to reach out. I love just setting up a quick, 20, 30-minute strategy session where we just connect and just talk about what your goals are and whether or not this is a serious place that you're considering. And if so, I know there's a few different ways that I can provide value. So I would hope that I can get the opportunity to do so. And don't forget, guys, hit that like and the subscribe button. New videos just like this one every week. I want to make sure you're the first to receive them. And one last plug before we go. I have a lot of resources completely for free on my website, including free buyer guides, seller guides, all this content that is great to just educate yourself on if you are considering moving here to Denver, Colorado. Also have one on boosting your credit score if that's something that is important to you, and even one on new construction homes. And the best one, all of them, is a new relocation guide where I share all kinds of info on 20 of my favorite neighborhoods around Denver, favorite restaurants, bars, parks, all the stuff to do in those areas. And I just want to share all of that with you guys. It's completely free, no strings attached. Just want to provide you guys with more value to hopefully connect with you. So all of that is available for free on my website. The link is down below. I'll see you guys next week on a brand new episode of Living in Denver. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you then. Bye.